The topic for today is politics as a career. How should you pursue a career in politics?
How many of you are interested in politics? And you want to get actually elected and do that kind of stuff? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
There you go. That's interesting. Yeah, that's good. Second question is, does your parents know about it? And you still get your monthly allowance from them? That's remarkable. Because when I told my dad I want to be politics, he thought I was crazy. But my dad was a civil servant. I used to be a civil servant. My wife is a civil servant. So if you look at my profile, fundamentally non-risk taker, safe. You're sharing your head so vigorously that you.
I also
So really? Okay. So the non-risk takers, yes or no? Study career.
what made you?
So I did my medicine from a place called Jamshedpur, where I did my undergraduation in medicine. My father was a civil servant. You work in that ecosystem, and so you get into it. Yeah. So if you're going to look at some intelligent explanation why you did that, there's no intelligent explanation. There won't be any intelligent explanation why you're in FMS or anything else, right? So fundamentally, most of us when we are young, we go through. There's a colleague of mine, Nandan and Gautam, they work with me. Nandan is with LAMP. He's a LAMP scholar, and Gautam is a colleague who works in my office at Max. I'm actually being kicked upstairs in Max because they said that since I'm a political person now, I'm a non-executive person now. I'm not in a chief executive. But there's nobody to do. Just now I was in the parliament, and Meenakshi Natarajan was speaking. She spoke really well on the education system. So unfortunately in the system, we don't get to see some of these guys who are really very good when they speak because there's nobody else to listen. Not even in the house, forget outside in Lok Sabha. Even in the house there are very few people. Cool. Okay, so how's the projection? Is it bad or?
It's just that I think there's a Chrome problem, so red gets projected.
Really?
Yeah, it's the units, I think.
Just see the next slide if it's. Okay, so I'm not going to see. First of all, by and large, if I want to be candid with you, my DNA is very similar to you guys' DNA in terms of background, everything else. But the chances of people from your kind of background to get into politics is actually very, very slim. Because the political system, at least the Lok Sabha system, it's a very different skills required to win an election. So the parliament is actually in a very interesting spot, or a bad spot, or a good spot, depends on how you look at it. That you expect us to legislate, right? Come with very deep thoughts on regulations, law and all that. But the skills needed to legislate is so much different from to win elections. So in the system you have, who are the guys who legislate? Who do you guys like listening to? Come on, in the parliament, Arun Jaitley. So I have no offense meant to all these guys. They're wonderful people. Great speakers. But have you noticed that most of the good speakers and thought leaders come from the Rajya Sabha? So that's a problem number one in Indian democracy. Huge problem. Because the guys who come from the Kapil Sibal ji and the election, listen, don't go about putting and then giving TV and NDTV. All that is within the confines of this one, right? We're going to be candid about it. I'll tell you stuff. I'm saying my party is a small regional party called Jharkhand Vikas Morcha. And I also say that we are not bad. We are the good guys, good Morcha, Jharkhand Morcha party, but we are not the perfect guys. We got a lot of bad guys. So we are not perfect. So if you're going to tell me that, boss, you have a criminal in your party, yes. I'm not going to walk away and give you some crazy explanation, which will, like when politicians explain the most ridiculous. So I'm not going to, hide myself behind those explanations. Because there's nothing to explain. There are bad guys in the party, there are good guys in the party. Within the system, you need to move around. You can keep complaining it, but the world is never going to get perfect.
Aren't there too many bad guys?
Actually true. But then, and I'll tell you about it. Yeah, absolutely right. He said, are there too many bad guys?
Some friend of mine was looking into statistics. He found that 50% of Ruling party candidates in UP had criminal records.
But you don't have to look much for that, it's available all over the place. Seriously, not much of effort. You just click and move. But the fundamental issue will come on criminal records. I think the interpretation of, I'm not justifying them at all. Okay, first of all, let me be very honest. There are lots of bad guys in the system, there are lots of crazy guys. But criminal record themselves will be a lot of them. A large number of politicians have criminal sections against them for political cases. So you need to chop the data into much more logical things.
30% of them had serious criminal.
Yeah, but I'll tell you something very interesting. You must join the civil service as a cop if you want. I mean, but a simple thing. In Jharkhand, there was one of the party leaders, or not my party, but some other party, who was in a dharna, right? And there was a scuffle between the cops, and the cops registered a case of theft against him. So those are serious criminal cases, but that's a dharna. He said he lifted my pen and there was an ID card and scrap like that. So you need to slice the data. But I'm not saying that the politicians don't have criminal. And see, let's get this establish certain facts. The Transparency International did a report on the political system. So Parliament was at 4.4, 5 was the worst, and Parliament was at 4. Politicians are 4.2. But the rest of us were close between 3 and 4. So India is not doing great anyway. The whole of India is between 3 to 4. The only guy who was below 3 is religious bodies, which was 2.9. So God save us. So so we need to establish the context in which we live in. Everybody in this country seems to have a remarkable CV of badness. So let's not kid ourselves and say, oh, this guy is bad, because the whole system. And civil servants, as I've been a civil servant, so some of the richest guys in this country are civil servants. Power to them. So the whole thing is, so I'm not defending the political system, but the system as a whole has got lots of challenges. We can solve those problems by then. But what I wanted to do is, I come from Karnataka, I fight from Jamshedpur. My mother tongue is a language called Tulu. Most of you would have never heard of that language. You heard of this language called Tulu?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Bangalore kind of.
Ashwin and I, Shilpa Shetty all speak that language. That's got immediate recall, so I immediately say that. The moment I say that, people remember, they never forget the rest of the life that these two people speak Tulu. It's spoken in one district in a small Udupi, Mangalore. It used to be one district. Now they split it into 2 districts, but it's still the South Canara and Udupi, right? So if I can do it, seriously speaking, any one of you can. If you want to make politics as a career, you can. But one thing I keep telling young guys is make sure you're financially strong. If you're not financially independent, then you're going to get wiped out and all your idealism is going to dogs. You just don't have a chance. So when you talk about idealism to all those MPs who come to the system, frankly speaking, the system never had guys like you getting into the system who were financially secure and then getting in. You have guys who are coming to a system which is extremely competitive, dirty, dangerous, insecure. Help me out with a few more adjectives. No, seriously. So you need to understand the context in which the political system sits today. And I'll tell you something, when I fought the election, I used to be a reasonably, I thought I was a good police officer because I was a police officer of Jamshedpur for a long time. And I had a good understanding of the political system. In a Lok Sabha election, there are 2,000 booths, approximately. And I thought I knew everything, being in the government for 10 years and being a reasonably decent cop. 15 days before elections, I am told that you need 2,000 bucks at least per booth. To put, have you seen the election booth? All of you have voted, right? You find 5 guys of a party sitting outside the booth, yes or no?
Yes.
Do they come free or you have to pay for them to sit there and feed them and all? Correct. So you pay 2,000 bucks. 2,000 into 2,000 is how much? Huh? FMS guys, come on, match.
40 lakhs.
40 lakhs, boss, day of election. Welcome to real world. 40 lakhs the day of the election. That's below poverty line expenditure. And everybody in the world knows it. Except me probably, but everybody knows it. But we just want to walk away from the fundamental fact that the day of the election you have to spend somewhere between, in Bengal it is 40 lakhs, in Karnataka it is 3 crores. Karnataka's, expensive elections. Andhra, Karnataka. Jharkhand also is, so we were on subsistence, what do you call that? On footsteps. So this is the situation. But it's changing. The good news is that 1.5 lakh new voters are coming to the constituency, 35 below so things are going to change, and as we make those changes, as we move along the political system, I hope by the time you guys decide to fight elections, the cost of elections will become much sorry, I didn't hear that. Expensive? I hope so. I think, and I'm sure that you guys will be able to fight. So you're in a good time, actually. You've got 10 years, 15 years to think about fighting elections. 10 years, even if you want to do it quickly. If some of you are precautious, you can take 5. Right? Okay. So that's the next step. You don't have that electronic stuff. So you do crazy stuff. You use radio, you use all kinds of different things we use, Motorcycle. I used actually the motorcycle because it was easier. Look, I have to reach out to most of the villages. So motorcycle is faster, cheaper, quicker. And then the guys love you saying, boss, this guy's like on the mobile. I stick to the motorcycle. Between elections I stay in Jamshedpur and even during weekends. So I made a commitment during my election that I'll meet every person at least once in 3 months. Now I don't know if you ever tried shaking hands with 40 lakh constituents. I got 14 lakh voters and 25 to 30 lakhs people. And I said I'll meet every one of them once in 3 months. So what I do is we go on a motorcycle and we cover 30 to 40 villages a day. 40 bastis a day. You meet people, touch them, move it. And what's interesting is, I'm much fitter than when I was younger because of the simple fact that if you sit on a motorcycle, you can't slouch, you've got to sit straight. So, being in politics has actually made me healthier because it just makes you fitter, right? Sitting on a motorcycle. Okay. Door to door, yeah. Press tour. Now, I'll tell you about a very international door to door. So, this election was very interesting because a lot of money, you had something called paid advertisement. I don't know if you know paid advertisement. They've stopped it this time, I guess. So, this is a place called Patamda, it's a Naxal affected area. It's raining cats and dogs. I go campaigning. So, I'm getting into every shop, getting into every corner, shaking hands, talking to the people, and I work there. So, my good fortune was I knew a lot of people knew me. And I must have got drenched to the bone, right? I come back in the evening, quite happy with my campaign. Next year's newspaper said, Ajoy Kumar ne Patamda ka daura kiya, and they put a photograph of, those old digital cameras with, 0.001 pixel kind of thing. You can't make it as a dog or a rat. So the photograph of me is there and said he did that small news. And my colleague, Mr. Banna Gupta, was from the Congress. He just went there and cut one feet, and then the next day a headline saying, Banna Gupta ka tufani daura hai. So this is the situation. And so you're fighting guys with money. And what's interesting about my election is, God has got a mischievous sense of humor. For the simple reason being, 20 guys fought the elections. 19 guys lost their deposit. But you might think, what a victory and all that. That's not true at all. You see what super force God, whatever it is, if you're an atheist or agnostic, he distributed the votes so finely that everybody was below the deposit limit. It's not that I did a great job. I mean, I beat the guy, the BJP president, etc., etc. But what happened? Why? It's a good copyright to hear that 19 lost their deposit, all lost their deposit, every one of them. But it's not that it should have happened actually. But what was happened was the vote got distributed in such an elegant manner that all of them were just below the deposit market. So when people in India, by and large, even in my constituency, which has got a huge amount of tribal population and urban population, come in here. It's the question is, I think we are having a huge demographic shift in the way the country operates. You're still going to have casteism. You're still going to have people voting by caste. But you need to understand that if I'm a Yadav, then the rest of the guys are not Yadavs now. So there's a great balancing which is happening right now. So unless you engineer social engineering and all that is also, it's not so easy, it's not happening so quickly. Today, like I see Samajwadi Party struggling with the promotion bill, right? Because they're thinking backward forward is a good social engineering concept, put in the Muslims are unbeatable. But when you have 2 lakh voters in every constituency and the total number of voters are 7 to 8 lakhs who actually vote, 2 lakh young guys are coming into voting, you are actually creating a situation where you just don't know what these young guys think. And fundamentally, most of the young guys are much more Catholic about caste and religion. I'm not saying you guys are the best thing which has happened to mankind, not true at all. Yeah, so don't pat yourself and say, man, I'm casteist and all that. Because I've seen some of the brightest young guys from the best institutions, the moment they get into civil services, they suddenly remember their grandfathers and mothers and chachas, gotra and caste. All through like IIT, MBA, IIM Ahmedabad, law school, सब ठीक था. जैसे झारखंड, बिहार, यूपी पहुंच गए, Karnataka, suddenly they have to get posting. They'll remember, my third uncle married a Yadav, or a Singh, or a Shaji, or whatever. So what we did was, people want the political leaders to say simple stuff. Most of us keep telling these crazy promises and all. and they just don't buy it. One thing I read in the election was, listen, I'm going to meet you every 3 months. We're going to start the night train services. We're going to do few stuff. So we gave them promises on some stuff which was, we'll make Jamshedpur educational hub. So we're trying to get Manipal. We're in the last stage of getting Manipal. We got land for Manipal. We're going to put it. So we gave them 5 or 6 promises. And you go communicating the promises to people. You're accessible. You run an office with 12 people. Hey, by the way, being in politics is expensive. We run an office which costs us around 2.5 lakhs per month. So I need my job as a vice chairman of the company, and all my savings from that salary goes into running that office. I've got no regrets on it because kids are studying. One guy's got a job. Probably can fund me after he moves it. But we run an office of 12, 13 people in 2 places. One is in Gachila for the rural people, and one is in Jamshedpur for the urban people. And the office, it runs like a corporate office in the sense that you guys might, it might resonate with you. It's got a medical section, it's got a legal section. Legal because 90% of the problem is with police, and 90% of the problem with police because police don't register FIRs. You know that? Have anybody been to a police station? For verification or for some more?
I lost my credit card.
Okay, so otherwise none of you went for...
I said they didn't register my FIR.
They never registered, right?
They did.
They won't here.
Not for credit card, but for some other.
No, they won't register. You see, one thing you need to understand, okay, you guys want to do something, change the world. Start a movement to get complaints registered online. Police should do it. You know why? India is a very interesting country from a police perspective. We are the only country where the crime comes down. Seriously. How do you think we could bring the crime down?
The website doesn't.
Exactly. So innovative. And we only register when we can't dispose the body. Killed, murdered, raped, all that. When it becomes beyond us, then only the case gets registered. Even rape, and by and large, doesn't get registered. So if you want to actually do something useful, like I would recommend Swaniti, is to start a movement of making sure, put pressure on the government to start registering complaints online. And once it's online, then the Thana gets a number, because there's some legal thing that it has to be registered in front of the SHO of the police station. We're trying to do that in the parliament. But it's a very difficult thing. So cops don't register crime. So the number of policemen is more adequate for the number of crime. The crime increases, doesn't get registered. Again you reduce crime. So the manpower in police has never increased for the past 25 years. Why do you think you don't see cops? You saw the cops 20 years back outside your, once in 3 months, you continue to see them. Because the number of policemen has not increased at all. And it's a management theory, because you don't have resources, right? Revenue department, the number is increasing because you need to increase revenue. Customs, excise, everybody. So just, this is the whole issue, okay? So one thing you need to remember, the people by and large are very smart. If you tell them the truth, they like it. They actually like it. And we as a political class forget to say that, we believe that, it is easy to fool the people, and that's the biggest fallacy. The point is, they're actually handicapped by choices. They're really handicapped by choices. So if good guys are getting in, young guys are getting in, I'm very impressed with, guys who are getting in, coming from Microsoft, this Swaniti project, because it's interesting to get good people into the project. You see the real India, and listen, at the end of the day, to young guys, most of you will be reasonably well off, right? You'll never be filthy rich. So the chance of you owning a yacht and a plane is limited. Seriously, bad news, but deal with that. You'll have a house in GK2, you might have a house in Gurgaon, you'll have a nice car. But the lifestyle between the guy who is reasonably okay and the guy who's got a house in Gurgaon, the difference is zilch. Seriously. So you struggle your life, unless you want to become Naveen Jindal or Bill Gates or somebody else, then that's a total different playing field. Otherwise, rest of you will spend all your life trying to get into that, and the difference, if you've done something more meaningful, will actually be minuscule. Taking an example, like a committed civil servant, he doesn't have a Mercedes Benz, but he's got a desire. So 3 डब्बा का गाड़ी है, AC ठीक चलता है, FM बचता है, गाड़ी मिल जाता है, घर ठीक है, लुटियंस दिल्ली में रिटायर होगा तो लखनऊ में घर मिल जाएगा. I resigned from the Indian Police Service with $3,000 in the bank. My wife works, so I could resign. And look how life is. I go to meet Mr. Tata because that's where I got my job, in Tata Sons, Tata Motors initially. So I go to Bombay House, where the Sanctum Sanctorum of the Tatas. And Mr. Tata had already asked me to join because I got into XLRI. I was wanting to take a 2-year study. I had not thought through all this stuff too much. And Mr. Tata called and said, why don't you do studies along with working the company? And since I was from Jamshedpur, didn't think about it too much. Mr. Tata asking me for a good ego boost and all. So he gave me a letter. And I saw the number of the letter, and this was 1996, and it had some figure of 2. And I was getting 1.5 lakhs or something, 1 lakh something plus in the government, 10,000 bucks a month. So the number looked double of what I was getting. So I was pretty, excited. You double your salary, you get 100% salary increase, you love it, yes or no? So I was very chilled out, I was pretty excited. I said, good letter, nice, I love it. And also I told Mr. Tata thanks, and I went back to my hotel. And I was in President's Hotel, and I was also glad because they said you can eat as much as you want. Seriously. So, in the middle of the night, as a good civil servant, and with my DNA from civil services, I read the letter again. So something told me the letter was wrong. It said monthly, So what I was getting monthly was, so I rang up my wife and said, I think it is monthly. She said, it must be much. Which idiot will pay you so much of money? So that's also a fact. Why would somebody pay you so much of money? But then I thought to myself, no, she doesn't understand how valuable I am to the nation. Seriously. So then I ring up a couple of friends to say, listen, I can't understand this private sector letters here. So I rang up a guy called Rajiv Dubey, who was the president of HR of Mahindras, Tata Administrative Service guy, nice guy. Ex-Tata, used to be in the Tatas in Jamshedpur, general manager and all. So I rang up Rajiv and said, Rajiv, I got this letter. I read the letter out to him, and he said, boss, this one's monthly. Now he's pretty pissed off because he's saying, listen, I've been in Tata's for so long, how the hell do they give it to me? But he said, doc, you need to check it. So I said, how do I check this stuff? He said, just walk in confidently and say, hey, how much in hand? What's in hand? So I never knew this words of, the private sector, what's in hand, and CTC, cost to company and all that crap, right? Because the police, government, you never understand what is CTC and all that. So, and I go to Visti Banaji, who's the general manager of HR of Tata Motors, later on president, executive director of Alstom. So Visti, so I said, hey Visti, you need to explain this letter to me. So Visti Banaji thinks that I'm unhappy with this cost. So I say, look, we can adjust some more. So I'm like, so I said, no, just tell me what's in hand. So he does some calculation and then he says, 1.8 or something. I said, I hope it's per month. So he says, yeah. And as I'm leaving, like a bad Hindi movie, near the door, he stops me. So he says, hey boss, I forgot to tell you something. I thought he's going to snatch the leather bag. Realizing that probably I'm not as smart as he thinks I am. And he takes then he says, listen, I forgot to tell you that you're going to get additional 3 lakhs for furnishing allowance. Now you need to understand that my wife has never seen a bed from the time we got married, because we used to use these chowkis of the police and trunks for divans and all. Because you understand the problem in the house, right? Because we only had a sofa set which was gifted from my sister-in-law. She was in the income tax, and she gifted us when we got married, that was one set of, no seriously, she's an honest income tax officer. Just in case you got different visions. So she gave us the sofa. So my wife is like absolutely going ballistic, she's never seen, because all the 10 years of marriage of Bharasi, boss, finally. So we made so much of furniture. It's incredible the amount of furniture we made. We went to Chaivasa, bought a tree in an auction. We hired a carpenter. We did a lot of things. So we got a lot of furniture. I'll tell you about the furniture story probably the next time about the details. Anyway, so you need a job to be in an honest society. That's a fact of life. And the unfortunate part is we deny that it is necessary. So I was talking to Nandan and my colleagues Gautam and all my friends and all. So for a time when I quit, when I joined politics, I was struggling. And I said, listen, to be in politics, I need to do a business, right? I need to. Now that's where you cross the line. So I struggled with that for 4 days. And then I came to the conclusion, no, I'm not into politics for this kind of stuff. So I'm going to liquidate all my assets. Now I have a house in a couple of places because I was in the private sector for 10 years. And all that, unfortunately, after the first stint, I was a CEO for all my rest of my period. As for 13 odd years as chief executive in different businesses up above it. So I said I'll liquidate all my assets and put in fixed deposit. And the interest from those fixed deposit is good enough for me to do politics honestly for the next 15, 20 years, whatever way I want. If I sell everything I have and put it in a fixed deposit. So that's the way I'm working on, because right now I'm the vice chairman of Max Neeman, but someday it's going to transit, because for the simple integrity is I don't contribute the amount of work. Actually, I get paid much more than what I deserve and need. It's a fact of life. Right now, I actually get paid much more than what I deserve. The only request is don't go about telling this to Ranjit Singh, because you circulate, because then you'll probably realize it. But so I need to find out a way in which I can ensure that do politics in an honest way. That's one of the solutions. So each to his own. So I'm not going to comment on others or which is good or bad. Each of us finds our own way of doing it. So you need a job, or you need to be financially secure. So if you're a young guy wanting to get into politics, don't be stupid enough to think that you can do it without having a huge safety net. If you're a guy, marry a girl who's very well off financially, and if you're a girl who wants to do politics, find a guy who's very well off.
Already a politician.
Cool. Okay. So we fix schedules, we meet people, the calendar is out, and what's interesting is, if I'm a member of parliament, most of us have to have a business education, and you must do some training for them, because simple. Imagine in my constituency, if there are 100 people who put in half an hour a day, 50 hours a day. Even if I put 14 hours a day, it is much less than those 100 guys putting half an hour. But the problem is the political system is so insecure that the guy who's putting half an hour will actually take my seat next time. So you need to build in systems which will give adequate recognition and rewards to people. The Indian political system still. Why do you think the political leaders wield so much of power? What do you think is the reason why Mrs. Gandhi or Rahul Gandhi has so much of power? Why? Over all the MPs. Tell me. All of us.
That could probably be because the leaders in the respective states, they report to them.
Okay.
Now, the Congress presidents in different states, they are like hardcore Gandhi family loyalists. So, several other leaders, the second-rank leaders, they owe their, the rise in the political ladder to these state leaders. Okay.
He said that. Cool. Anybody else? Like they told me that Swaniti talks is what brightest guys. They're sharp like knife. You'll get cut and all that.
May I?
Please go ahead.
Maybe because of the routinization of charisma they have with them, running over the family and generation.
If I pull your leg, you guys are not going to mind.
No.
Cool. So if you use words like routinization and all that, I'll have to kill you. I'm just a joke. Okay, because my kids also use it. But okay, anybody else? Take a chance. Anybody else?
Probably the only consensus leader outside of the Gandhis.
Anybody else?
They can move the masses actually.
Okay, cool. Anybody else? See, that's what happens. It's such brilliant academic answers, but anybody else? Yeah, go ahead. There's nothing called dumb answer.
They got money.
They got money. Yeah, you're cool. You're really practical guy. But good attempt. Anybody?
To convince people that they want things.
No. Anybody? Come on. Yeah, they told me this is really hot. Group of guys who are going to come.
There's a dawn of Congress.
No.
What kind of change?
No. Anybody else? Come on. You've been in the political system. Yeah. Why does Mamata Banerjee have so much of power?
They choose
the managing all.
They choose people whom to give the tickets.
Exactly. Yeah. Boss, you're the only bright guy I've met. At least, I'm not saying rest of you are not, but I've asked this question hundreds of times and nobody's given me this answer. The reason is they distribute tickets. And that is where the power comes from. There is no inter-party democracy. The United States and India was identical 100 years back. They had the same nepotism of distributing tickets in the United States. Then the system of primaries came and flattened it. So Obama cannot decide who will fight, which senator will play from Milwaukee. The people will decide. And when you decide that, then you actually flatten the political dynasty, whatever you call it, political patronage.
Dichotomy.
Patronage. Okay? Does that make sense till now? Cool. Chief Minister of Karnataka before Yadurappa. Or was it Krishna? So now I want you to come to this conclusion. When political people, we all think that, we have people remember us and all. That's the biggest nonsense. You finding it difficult, you're the intelligent guys. Imagine the guy on the road, he won't even know. So if you want to leave a legacy, then the whole political system has to be on a legacy which leaves a permanent impact on people's life, irrespective of what you do. So if you translate that into your life purpose, it will be much more meaningful than all the cabinet ministers of India combined. Seriously speaking. So this obsession of power and all that is, if it's to leave a legacy, then if you are in the cabinet, nobody remembers, except in Lok Sabha notes, Like we table our speeches because it will come and we think history is going to read us as if nobody's got a better work than, to read some crappy speech given by some guy, Yeah, they told me, table your speech, so it will be part of history and all. As if you're going to waste your time reading this stuff. FDI retail, remember, Nandan, how much we worked on it. They didn't let us speak, so we tabled it. And then they told us, boss, it will be part of history and all. Which is a joke. I mean, you knew about it? No. Good to great, by choice, built to last. If you don't read anything else and learn anything in business, at least understand, because it's very interesting. And one of the rules is, you do simple stuff daily, consistently. Trick question. How many of you run regularly? Jog, exercise? You do? Good. None of you else do?
Does play count?
It's intense, as long as it's intense, but...
Intense, yes.
Okay. But I would recommend doing something which is boring and not your normal nature is run. How many of you do it? So if I fast forward this class 25 years from now, you'll all be in the same classroom waiting outside RML for a stent or something. Seriously, you must start exercising. I'm not joking. Right? You must do something which is physical in terms of... See, when you're young, you believe that your joints are going to not go away after some time. It really goes very fast. Very, very fast. So I would recommend that as young guys, seriously. Okay. But anyway, so in this book, there's something called the 20 milers. The 20 milers are guys, like in politics and anything else in life, you need to do that every day consistently. And there's a guy called Amundsen, I don't know if you've heard of him. Amundsen, the guy who went to, the first guy to reach South Pole. Correct. Who did he compete with? Scott. Now Amundsen, one of the traits of Amundsen was a great planner. So he would plan that he would do only 20 miles every day in the Antarctic. The weather was great, he would still do 20. Weather was bad, he would still do 20. They were awfully tired, he would still do 20. They were awfully fresh, they would still do 20. So what happens is, it's like, when you guys, one day you run 10 kilometers, next day you do half an hour, you play basketball for 3 hours and then you don't play for 2 weeks. So the guys who make consistent permanent changes, do it consistently. And actually from a political perspective, it's very interesting. I met a guy called Mr. Muniappa. 7 times MP from Karnataka, 7 times. So I'm interested in this political guys because I had to figure it out. Winning election, it's a pain in the neck, it's a really... So I said, how does Mr. Muniappa win? So his PA said, just observe Mr. Muniappa. You go and meet Mr. Muniappa, you'd say, Namaskar sir, he'll do like this. He does it to everybody. He knows how to bend. And when you get into FMS, you're doing IIT Delhi FMS. Yes, second rank. The spine gets stronger and stronger, titanium, unbendable. And that is what is interesting. All the great guys I see in politics, in public life. Mr. Tata. I'll tell you a story about Mr. Tata and you need to understand it. I worked with Mr. Tata very closely. And I joined Tata Sons from Tata Motors and I'm waiting outside the Tata Sons glass room. There's this huge glass which is glazed glass, so you can't see clearly. You can only make out one face vaguely because it comes like that. So I went at lunchtime, the guard had gone for lunch. I didn't have my access card to get into Tata Sons. My first day as general manager in his office. So one guy crosses and I know it's Mr. Tata because he's a big guy. And you can make out suit, wood and all and he walks like this. He can't make out, he can't make out who I am. He couldn't see me. But he must have realized there's somebody on the other side. But he walks because he's thinking about something. He must have reached the end of the corridor then realized somebody's waiting outside. So he comes back and he swipes the door open. Now I could have been a courier guy. Actually, Mr. Tata opened the door for a courier guy technically because he would have done it for anybody. Can you imagine you doing it as Mr. Tata? You won't even do it. As a FMS graduate who's got a job in Unilever. Tough. I'm not saying you won't. So that is what's interesting. So all these guys have got this phenomenal ability to be humble. And it's genuine and it's not pretending. It's not pretentious at all. And what is interesting with Mr. Munyappa is every Friday he catches the flight and goes to his constituency, irrespective whether it is snow, rain, anything else. Maybe if Sonia Gandhi calls him for a meeting, that's a rare exception. But he takes that flight and he gets down from Bangalore airport and he goes to his constituency. He goes to his constituency as minister 52 times a year. So they're consistent. So when you look at some of these politicians and you feel like, today I had a question in the parliament and they were doing this halla and all that. My son SMS and says, look, you spoke well, which is bullshit because nobody could hear what I said. He was just being nice to me. And he said, these political, but the point is, unfortunately this political noise, the quiet guys are actually quiet so we don't notice the good guys. And there's some real solid guys. And it's an unfortunate system that the guys you get to see are those, talking heads. But you don't see the, as good politician he said, taking in, never did anything. So then we sat together and said, how do we solve our problem? We gave a commitment to the solar lines. So we did two things. We need to take political advantage. So we are sending a Rath Yatra to every village saying Arjun Munda is a bad guy, he stopped solar lines. Good strategy. Telling every villagers how nasty he is. In the meantime, we contacted Jareda. And we found out that we can get on a subsidy, instead of 25,000, we can get 17,000 rupees a solar line. And the second lot we can get for 11,000. Then we put the list of villages which are most important in the constituency in terms of population. And we said, listen, I can't put in 1,700, already 300 have been done. 300 lights are deposited in podcast, so we need to do it only in another 600 villages. So we have put 600 from the MP fund. So at least we kept our promise to the people. I'm sure the Tatas will set up the rest of it. But these are challenges. Then on the football, we got them to agree to give t-shirts, and set up football team. Again, they stopped it. So we wanted to create 2,000 football teams to get kids involved in football. Give them t-shirts and soccer ball and all that. Again, the guy stopped it. So then we said, okay, I had a meeting with the DC and I said, from the MP fund, I'm able to put goalposts. You can put goalposts. And you need to use the system to, so I said, if I put the goalpost, how much do you think a goalpost will cost in a normal system to put up?
5,000.
No, how much good goalpost was that? 5,000 China. 20,000. So then I called the local engineer and listen, you're not going to change the world. Don't believe that the world is going to become honest and all that. First of all, I can only guarantee I don't take commission. You can't guarantee for the rest of the world and don't even imagine you're going to change the world. It's a waste of time. So we called them and said, listen, could you put the goalpost? And anyway, you're making money on this goalpost stuff. Because you need to be practical. These guys are making some extra money. The margins are not 10%. They're making some 15-20%. I said, you built in a football net and a football along with it. So we're going ahead with 600 teams like that. So we're trying to 200 first and then next year 400 more. So the men smiling. Left side of the road, again, BPL card, where were you? Why did you take so much of time? So I was totally zapped out. It looked like some out of those crazy management case studies. Right side, left side, doesn't make sense, yeah. Okay. No? Case studies, you guys get this case study. Then you come out with some figured out solutions. So anyway, so I'm just thinking, what's this place here? So I asked Mr. Swaniti, I said, why left side, right side of the road, boss? He started laughing. He said, chaliye dikhate. So on the right side of the road, the village is all next to the Subarneka river and the canal. So whichever village in this country has got 12 months of water for agriculture, they don't need the government. They don't want you you're actually a pain in their peaceful existence. They dislike you actually because you come and everybody put posters and drink their tea. Seriously. If you have water for 12 months of the year for agriculture, then the villagers will look after their poor themselves. There is nobody in a village who will not give a job to a widow, even if it's some of the most ridiculous way of giving money, because they live together and they want to help her out. So they'll say, you know, Dadi, isko chun lijiye. Then uske baad वापस डाल के फिर चुनी. So that was a realization which struck me, you know. I said, okay, if there is water, now then there's something called the Mahatma Gandhi Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. I don't know if you know that it is guaranteed, means if you don't get your job, you can get unemployment allowance. You know that?
Yeah.
Nobody knows in the village. You ask the government of India today, ask Jairam Ramesh, have you ever paid a single guy an unemployment allowance? He said no. Because nobody knows this rule. So the Narega talabs are exactly 2 feet deep, you know, made in the most deceptive locations where water will never come, because it's just a scam. So then I said that, listen, this is when I was talking to Ritvika and everybody else, I said, listen, I'm trying to get this pond project off near Jamshedpur and all over the place. Identify 200 villages, because 200 villages is equal 80% of my production and population. So now I've solved, there are 3 parts of the puzzle. Or 5-6 steps. First of all, we've identified the villages. So this is an exciting project, firstly. I want you to really get totally interested in it. You identify the ponds, so we've done villages. 20% of the villages, 80% of the production and population, everything is 20-25%. All these villages have natural ponds which have got silted. They've got silted over a period of time. So that means that pond is there. If you dig it up, it is going to fill up again. Correct? So there's no confusion. It's not a new pond, it's an old pond. You've got to re-dig it. Third part of the puzzle was, we need to dig it and we need to make sure that it doesn't get silted. How to dig it? Any ideas? Hey, they told me this batch is like, come on guys, come on, push me, otherwise what? How do you dig a pond fast, quick, easy? You can use any stuff you can imagine. Yeah, correct. Yeah, so why do you take so long? Excavators. So the excavator, I found a solution. Telcon is a company which is Tata Hitachi. I know the MD, so I said, boss, will you give me excavator? He said, I'll give you free. No but no diesel. Now, Nandan, you remember the calculation for the ponds?
1,32,000.
Without the excavator or with the excavator?
Without the excavator.
Without the excavator. So 1,32,000. That means diesel cost is, and plus the cementing. Diesel is 30,000 bucks and cementing is 1 lakh. So the challenge to the Swaniti potential fellows is, how do we raise 1 lakh? 30,000. Because if you don't have the excavator, it's 2.5 lakhs. So at least I've solved half of your problem. And how do we get 1,30,000 and change lives? And if this model works, it will be one of the biggest, I hope you'll do bigger stuff in your life, but it will be one of the most satisfying thing you'll ever do, is to get 1,30,000 for 200. So 1,30,000 into 200 is how much? 2 lakhs, 2 crores plus 30,000 right? Now you try raising 500 bucks in this room itself, you know. It's tough. So that is the challenge. So I got the excavator solved. And probably I can even get you the cement free from someone. So that's how we do. These days in Jamshedpur, when they see me, they think I'm going to because I keep asking. And believe me, the more you ask, the chance of success is higher. You fail more often. You remember this Michael Jordan's quotation? I don't know if you've read that. What's that about? I've tried 9,000 times. Yeah. Right? 3-pointers and I've missed. And in 26 games, I was given the ball to throw the winning shot and we lost the match. But he said, because we fail, we succeed. So that is the project. If you're able to get, then what we do, if you're still ambitious, and you're one of those rare fellows, you know, who's on performance enhancing substances, anabolic steroids. If you're one of those kind of fellows, then we can put a micro-lift irrigation to it, 1 lakh rupees, and irrigate. And if you're still more totally into illegal stuff, you know, then we can put water drinking by pumping the water and putting filters. And if you're genuinely insane, and you have no concept about what realities and what challenges are, then you can put fish in those ponds. You can get livelihood. The fish I can get you, free of cost.
What about the MP fund that you were talking about?
Now the MP fund, good question. If push comes to shove, we'll use that MP fund. I have removed 5 crores already for this year because of community halls. So we can remove some amount, but then it's the easiest project for us, you know, for a fellow here. I mean, what are you doing? I'm going to put a pond and put an excavator, and the problem with the MP fund is I can't fund 50,000 rupees. Honestly, I can't fund 1 lakh that diesel. If I give it to the government, the cost of the pond goes up to 12 lakhs per pond. Because everybody earns money. If I give it through the MP fund, the government estimate of my pond is 12 lakh rupees.
12 times.
Yeah, approximately 12 times. So, I'll be able to reach much lesser people. I asked the government, they said 12 lakhs. So the question is, we can do that as an option, we can see that, but 12 lakhs will be hit much more lower numbers. Second issue is, can we get excavators free? We can get cement free. Probably get the villagers also to do it. So can we get the diesel? I mean, that's okay, we're open to all that stuff, but good question. We can fund it by the MP fund, some amount maybe.
Private investors?
Yeah, I mean anybody. I have no, that's why I come to Swaniti, you know, to sell my idea.
What happens to the silt?
So you remove the silt and jump it out, yeah?
No, because silt is supposed to be very fertile. So it can be transferred to certain areas.
You can sell those silt, but you know, that's what I'm saying. I mean, frankly speaking, I told you, I've not done so much of...
I think it will be used as building material. Yeah.
It's not used.
Yeah, but...
It's not good.
It depends on the...
It depends on the...
Yeah, and the other issue is, you know, is it worthwhile transporting, you know, building material 200 kilometers, I mean, on a truck when somebody can get it across? You know, so the question is, look, it's going to cost you 1,30,000 bucks. I mean, obviously we have to brainstorm and see how you can reduce cost and all that. I've done this in my very simple arithmetic, you know. So the diesel cost and the cement cost, because once you do it, is what I came to a conclusion. So we need 2.5 crores. Now, first, if I give it to the government, good question, it will cost us 12 times more. But that can be a challenge to do the project. Can you squeeze the government to do it for 4 lakhs? Probably you can come with some solution. I'm okay with that.
How do they calculate government?
They calculate 50% of this neta, 60% of that guy, and so on. And by the way, we need to make a lake. Okay, guys. No, seriously, everybody makes money. I'm serious. Even in my project, you won't believe it. I have so much of trouble.
Why don't I have enough power to enforce, you know? It's a bit of an idealistic question, but you should...
No, absolutely. Don't even... See, what can you do? I've seen it that, listen, you need to understand the difference between things you can change and things you can't. You know? You're not going to change the moral fiber of this nation, boss. It's going to only happen through process and system. You know? You're going to make it transparent, you're going to modularize. I'll give you a simple thing. We're making community halls with modular material for 2 lakh rupees. The department is very cheesed up because they were making it for 30 lakh rupees. So those are challenges, obviously. So, but we need to find out. Look, I don't want to waste my time changing the world because I have this little spot in the eastern part of India, which is called Tata Nagar, East Singhbum district and Jamshedpur. I just want to focus on that because there are 40 lakh people and I owe it to them to do it. 30 lakh people. So this is the pond project. We'll discuss it over as we go along. Any questions? Does it excite you? Listen, you can change. Can you imagine? Fisheries, water, agriculture. You'll never hardly do anything in your life which can impact 2.5 million, 3 million people. And when you look back on your life, hopefully, I look back on some of the stuff I've done, and believe me, most of the stuff which I've done which has given me most gratification the biggest amount of satisfaction and these kind of stuff. I don't remember anything which was, you bought a house or you did that stuff. If you can change people's life, you can make that impact. I think it's really going to be useful. And I'm not doing it just to sell this idea and get some, free labor and all that stuff. Don't mistake me for that. I'm doing it because if young guys get involved with it, it'll be a life-changing proposition for you guys. Actually life-changing. And there's something more we can learn. Can we adopt this model? I've had a meeting with Jairam Ramesh. Can we adopt it across India? Because the 90%, 70% of agriculture is on rainfed. 70% of agriculture is rainfed. Can we create a model where we can make ponds and we can do it in a system, modular manner? And that's where brains come. Where young guys like you, and that's why India is changing. We have all these crazy guys, old system of like, a lot of you will debate. I'm totally for GM food and regulations. Genetically modified food and regulations. Regulated genetic modified food is important for this country. We have this South Delhi based NGOs which go crazy and all that, but everybody loves to eat American guys who travel, all these guys who travel overseas and all that. They must be pumping GM foods left, right and center, but suddenly when they come to India, they think they'll get those, one of those rare genetic disorders. So the issue is, anyway, so net, this is an opportunity. I just want to leave you with a thought. I'll finish it off and then we'll take questions. But I'm sharing with you some more stuff which PILs which we file. Viklang Rath, I'll give you a very good example. How small solutions can get, small efforts can bring elegant solutions, Whenever I used to go to the rural area, I meet handicapped children who don't have handicap pension. And it gets them admission in colleges. When I talk to the civil surgeon, they say, no, we've covered the whole district. The DC says we have covered the whole district. So I went to this village and said, why don't you bring your child to Jamshedpur and get the certificate? So she says, boss, I have to carry my child in a vehicle here. She is handicapped. From a village in Dumaria to reach Jamshedpur, up and down costs her 3,000 bucks there. So then I rang up a friend, my friend called Sandeep Agarwal, a businessman. No, you might think I'm a politician, but believe me, that's how we get work done. So I ring up Sandeep and say, boss, you want to do a good job? Can you give me 3 days vehicle, because the certificates are given on 5th, 15th and 25th. 3 days a month in Jamshedpur. So he gives me a vehicle. The first day when we did this vehicle, my guy rang me up from Jamshedpur and said, sir, koi nahi aa raha, isko chhod de. Humne kaha, yaar, even if they are one person, you do run the vehicle. That day, 11 guys came in the damn sumo and they were squeezed inside. Then I rang up Sandeep and said, this is not happening. He said, I'll give a bus. And we negotiated with that minibus guy, so it cost us around 3,000 bucks and all that. So because even the poor, that's very interesting, the minibus guy only takes money for the fuel. So that's what I keep saying, when you look around this country, you find out that the poorest of the poor have such more heart here. It's very strange. The richer you get, you directly get greedy. There's a direct proportion. So anyway, so this 3,000 bucks a month, it costs us approximately 9,000 a month, 333, 1,20,000 a year. We are able to give certificates to 800 to 1,000 children. 1,20,000 divided by 1,000 kitna aata hai? 120 rupees na? 120 rupees. That's it. Just one Viklang Rath, the government spends so much of crazy money on this dumb advertisements. You see my Chief Minister smiling as if he's just eradicated polio, saying he did a great job and all that. My state government is so nice and all. One advertisement would be equal to run a Viklang Rath in 10 districts. And this is what we call, so we transport people on private initiative. It's simple. It's not great rocket science here, but we're just able to do it. We recruit security guards from private security companies in the tribal pockets. Get the kids. Call centers. You might think it's not a great job, but a 3,000 bucks job in Jabalagoda calls my call center. He calls the doctor and fixes up appointment and sends the patient. So technically we can treat 500 patients a day. 1,000. 2 patients a day. 1,000 will be, if you can imagine, if you can treat 1,000 patients a day, it is more than the total treatment of the government in whole of my constituency. But the unfortunate part is the doctors are ready, the call center is ready, but the people's awareness of this system is still very, very low. So we have not done a good job on this at all, But I believe that if we are able to do this, we will eradicate a lot of misery for poor people. So that's one thing which I failed. I hope I should be able to do it in the next, I don't know when, but anyway. So that's how it is. We got some very interesting guys. Ravish is from Ahmedabad, Vijay is from Exeter, Lalita Sarin is educational. So you get a lot of good guys working there. You know, the guy called Shashi, because he said that, you know, he knows the best in the program. He's the MP's representative. Yeah. And hey, listen, yeah. I want to tell you something. Nandan was here. Nandan, when he joined me, I used to make him write letters. And he thinks I'm a crazy guy. Because I make him write stupid letters every day to Arjun Munda, 10 letters. You know, every day 10 letters. And he thought that what is this bloody trip with this Ajoy Kumar, you know, he thinks letter. After 6 months of working with me, he realized that these letters have a huge amount of nuisance value. You see, when an MP writes, they actually start paying attention. One guy in this million has to pay attention, CBI Director, Chief Justice of India, because anybody with an email address or a post box, I send him a letter. Anybody with a mailing address on issues which are important, of national importance. And we send letters, one after the other. National Highway is back, NH33, NHRM is not working, Service Shiksha Abhiyan sucks, etc., 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 etc. We keep writing. Somebody picks it up, yeah. And then the system starts working. Keep writing to the DC, keep writing to the commissioners. And then it picks up. I wrote to every guy you can think of, every corporate guy, Mr. Mahindra and everybody else for this water pond project. And I'm still not responding, hopefully someday they will. But we will succeed. It's just a matter of time. Some guy, you know, 200 rich guys have to just name that pond in name of their, you know, dead grandmother or something. You can convince them. Just not help, grandmother will love it. Seriously, how good are you to sell that idea? You got a first moron in me, you tell me you put in my father's name, I'll give you 2 lakh rupees. The serious stuff. It's not difficult to get people to part with 1.5 lakh rupees. I mean, I can start off with mine. You know. So now the challenge is 199 pounds. So, last, you know, this is my dog, his name is Hero, he's a Labrador. We used to have a lot of dogs, now out of the so many years of so many dogs, this is the first time we've had one. But Hero is a great teacher, you know, because anybody who comes to my house, anybody, and his dogs are totally Catholic in their perspective of life. No caste, no creed, no gender. He immediately lies down and does this. That means you need to massage him. I swear, anybody, Dhobi, guard, Dudwala, anybody, looks at you, pause you and then goes, that means massage me. He attempts 1,000 times a day, massage, I swear, 1,000 times. Anybody, everybody who moves, he succeeds 5 times a day. So I learn from Hero every day. Believe me, I cross him in the middle of the night to get a glass of water, he does like this. Just in case you have 2 minutes. So that is the reason. If the dog can get it, you know, all of us should and must. You know. Have you read the book by Malcolm Gladwell called What the Dog Saw? Yeah. So that's it. So you know, so that's my story, and it's interesting. I mean, that's my Reena is there, myself, my 2 sons, my mother, my brother, and that's it. You know, when we went into the election, and Paras at the back, nobody thought we had a chance in hell. Everybody, all the experts said, one of the editors of the newspaper said, Doctor Saab, kyun aaye isme? Jamanat jabt ho jayega. So all that stuff, you know. And you might look back and think it was easy. Believe me, I've been trying to get into the political system for 14 years. And you might think it's insane that why would somebody want to do it, sell off his house, put everything in a fixed deposit. Because for the simple reason that not I'm different from any one of you, honestly speaking. But at the end of the day, it's the most miserable thing to die with 6 crores in your bank account. Can you imagine dying with money in the account? How dumb can you get? Seriously. You can be really awfully dumb. Can you imagine that if you just kick the bucket and say, by the way, you know, shit, I didn't spend that. So that's my story. Okay. So if I can do it, everybody can. Each one of you can. So you want to change, you can start off, and believe me, it starts with a small step. I really believe that this water for livelihood will take off. It will become an example. I'm trying. I spoke to Nandan Nilekani for Aradhana. They only do drinking water. We're going to convince them somehow. But I don't know how we're going to do it. But I'm sure we will. I put 60 pounds this year from the MP fund because in case it doesn't work, then I need to see how it works and get it. So lift pond, micro lift irrigation, drinking water, fish. You'll have a lot of smiling people. So that's my story. Any questions you need to ask, you can stop me. What happens is when we meet young bright guys, don't boil the ocean, boss. You'll never boil the ocean, You want to change the world, make impact and all. Start with small problems. Make a difference to 100, 300, 500,000 people, 50 people. See whether that model works. If the model works, then you multiply the model. But don't boil the ocean. Young people, I keep telling you, otherwise you'll get very disillusioned. Change the politicians' moral fiber and all. Not happening, boss. Sorry.
And sorry to interrupt. Actually, a lot of you have been very conscientious and have sent us the questions.
Oh, so
I think, and we've just combined a lot of the questions together, so we can just ask you those. And then after that, if there's anything left, just feel free to ask those questions as well. So, sir, I think the first question is, as you know, this is Delhi University campus, and you have a lot of people aspiring civil servants, and being one themselves. We'd like to know, sir, what could you be doing as a civil servant, and how should you think of the transition if you were to go from civil services to being a politician? And how does it help you?
That's okay, that's fine. Oh, nice. Look, I didn't become a politician thinking I'll become a civil servant. So I don't plan, Somebody told me a quotation that, if you make a plan, God is going to start laughing because... So it's not... I would say that you should fundamentally know where you want to go. How you want to do it is your own way of doing it. Civil service is one method of doing it. But you can be a very successful entrepreneur and start doing it. If you're a lawyer, you can start public interest litigation and start doing cases and all. So there's no particular formula. I tell you as a police officer, I didn't know this, but I did it because I like people, so I used to meet 500 people a day. And I don't know whether it was my cop job, but I got a lot of people treated free, talk to friends, because as an SP you're reasonably influential. And especially in Bihar, Jharkhand and all, if you're doing a decent job, people like you. So I helped a lot of people with simple desire to help. Honestly, I didn't even think about this. That it would... But what was interesting was, 15 years later, can you imagine that I was a super police 15 years before? It's a hell of a lot of long time to people to come back and vote for you. 15 years is a long time. But the people still, and wherever I went, they said the same stuff. You slept here, you helped me, you gave me... Because what I used to walk a lot in the villages. Or in the rural area or the urban area. So, sometime night walk and all, we used to halt, sleep in the Hari Mandir and all that, they used to give us food and all. So I met a lot of stuff. So fundamentally, if you're going with the perspective that this is how it's going to be and I have, that's a bit of a tough call. If you like people and want to help people, irrespective of what you do, you love doing it. You can be, so whatever it is, civil service is one method. But it's tough if you're a audit and account service guy. Then the public life. So the public life is limited to few services, like it or not. Is the Indian Administrative Service or the Indian Police Service. The Administrative Service is better position or not. Income tax also reduces your exposure to public. Or at least the public, which is the voting public. So there is no clear-cut path, I guess. It can be any job.
Okay. How much population of Jamshedpur is in urban area?
50% is urban, 50% is rural.
So how much vote you got from...
Actually it's interesting, I got more votes in rural, which is crazy. Because the urban guys don't vote. That's the most idiotic part of the whole thing. So it's interesting, I got my maximum votes from the rural area. All the constituency I led by 30-40,000 votes. Except Baragoda, which was, I trailed by 100. So Jamshedpur has got 2 urban constituencies fundamentally and 4 rural. So in the urban I led, in Jamshedpur East I got 40,000, lead of 50,000, a lead of 30,000 in the west. And then Gatshila I got 35,000 lead, Potka I got 45,000, totally rural Naxal, my 11, so that's interesting again. I went with a mindset that urban votes and everything else. Myself, I thought the rural guys may not even remember, but it was totally interesting. How the rural people have a systemic knowledge of organizations. If you are able to have the basic, I would say government and private is not as much as they should. Take an example, you have done law and then you have done business management, right? But you've done law. Yeah. But he's running you're working in an organization, you see how it is working. So private also helps as long as you understand how you can become more effective. how would I say, Pareto analysis, 80-20 rule, segment the market. Thanks, sir. What is the population profile? Which are the projects you need to go for high impact immediate? Those kind of stuff helps you.
Did you go about selecting Jharkhand Vikas Morcha, and was this after you got elected or before?
No, before I got elected. Because I knew Mr. Malandi and interesting, they're the only guys who gave me the ticket. So.
How do you now kind of party to see I want to get involved?
Hey, listen, I have not. There's one, I won't name the member. There's a member, a friend of mine who I knew very well. I have sat outside his door for 7 hours for a meeting. And he just won't meet and he kept me waiting for 7 hours. Today we are in the same parliament together. So you've got to be ready for that. You've got to keep knocking, boss. I mean, if you're going to look in the mirror and say, boss, they're going to come to me, not happening.
You wanted Congress ticket?
I tried because for the issue, see, basically, if you look at it, let me be candid with you. I was very agnostic on the party for the simple reason being, I'm singularly obsessed with what I can do in Jamshedpur. Now, you might think it is different and nation and all that stuff, but believe me, I'm singularly obsessed in trying to change the lives of 30 lakh people. All my thought processes revolve around Jharkhand, Jamshedpur constituency first, and Jharkhand around Jharkhand, because I understand that area well. I understand what. So, I was very Catholic, and you might say, what is this? You must come with views and all that, I don't know, I needed a political platform to get in and start getting work done. Now, you might say that political is candidly political platform, the only platform to do social work. No, there's so many other ways to do it. I found out that, to be honest with you, I look at it that the political platform gives me much more leverage to get things done. I can ask Mr. Tata for 1700 solar lights and get it done. Now, I could have made an NGO and worked with Harish Handa and done it. Those are still challenges which I grapple with. So I'm pretty, but look, you can, good question, you can connect the dots backwards, right, like Steve Jobs says. You keep thinking about doing good work, and I find Mr. Malandi, who's among the best guys in Jharkhand, like it or not. I mean, I'm not saying because he's my president or he's a nice guy, but in the system he's one of the nicest guys. He's a clean guy, he's a decent guy, and I don't need to carry his bag. He gives tremendous amount of opportunity and freedom, and he's genuinely a Democrat in terms of opportunity. And I'm not saying it because like all these guys say, all of the party leaders. I'm saying it on record, off record. I feel very liberated because I don't have to suffer. There's a lot of... So, accidentally I fell myself into Jharkhand Vikas Morcha. And people keep telling me you should get into a national party. And I said, no. Regional party is rock. You get a lot of freedom. You get a lot of opportunity. Hey, by the way, first time MP, guys who have spent 3 terms in the parliament have never spoken. I've spoken already 17 times. Because every party has to speak. My boss is always in Jharkhand, so I'm the leader of my party. Seriously, in the Lok Sabha, can you imagine? Guys come and talk to me. Huh? Rajesh Shukla will come and say, boss, kya? Like, when all party meets, Mr. Malandi is never there, so like, I'm rubbing shoulders. Hey, what else can it be? It can't get better than that. Yeah. Sandeep Dixit will come and say, FD, I'm kya kar rahe ho? Not bad. You are doing it. One is, you work as a team, so doors open, you work together and find out solution. You come back and say, listen, water project, let's talk to Mr. Silas Mistry. We'll go and talk to him. Man. What can he say? No. That's all he has got in his control. He can't kill us, chuck us, do anything else. Or talk to Rotary, or talk to this. So, I think my connections, which are reasonable because I worked in the private sector for a long time. And the fact of life is that I know, actually speaking, you find it very strange. But I know 95% of the people in Jamshedpur by face. Now you might think this is crazy, but this is true. By and large, I know most of the guys in my constituency because I worked as a cop all the time on the road and so many people. And then every day 200-300 guys land up in my house when I'm there. And then you go around. So you can leverage those connections. You can have Agras and Bhavan. There's some. See, Jamshedpur gets approximately 3,000 crores during Dhanteras on bonus. 3,000 crores comes into Jamshedpur town at Dhanteras. So it's a town which has got huge amount of ability to raise capital. So if you want, there's some Tata Steel suppliers, Tata Motor suppliers. If we just need to think out of the box how to do it, yeah. You know, what will happen, boss? Jamshedpur was a nice town. And you'll have fun. I mean, I think the attempt is, it seems humongous, but I don't think it's as humongous as you think it is. I think you can do policy advisory, you can do electoral. Look, I would love to see young people get into politics. I keep telling my kids, and believe me, one criteria is not Jamshedpur. No father-mother kind of crap. Get into public litigation. I know, because for me, these are very strong values. But I tell my kids and all his students, all his classmates in the law school in Bangalore, the Gandhinagar crisis, I'm not saying all of you should get into politics because that may not be the ideal option. But if somebody likes it, and if you're financially secure, believe me, it's an awesome opportunity. But depends on like the lamp guys or the Swaniti guys. You can get into policy, you can get into electoral politics. You don't listen, you can connect with a political person who wants you. See, the politicians are also starving for good guys here. You can take the Rajya Sabha route, you know, or the Lok Sabha, whatever you like. Each, you know, you're free to decide. But whether it will be policy or not is either or, is too early to say. Nandan Nilekani, what do you say? Is a politician today or not? He's a policy guy, right? But involved in a political system very deeply. You know, the Aadhaar thing, if it works, is going to change. So I think, is he a political, involved in the political process? Yes, intensely. Is he a politician? No.
Yeah. The other question is, sir, you see a lot of the folks here are going to be the first generation politicians, and they don't have a pedigree, and I think you alluded to the fact that, you know, how the Indian system is still has a lot of control top down, just because of the way the rights are given. Like, how do you see the first generation people come in? Is it just the work that speaks for them, or how, you know, what are your suggestions?
So tough, like look, I look at my own thing and believe me, mine is an aberration. I have no political connections, nobody in my family is in politics, nobody has won even a panchayat election. I didn't fight election in college, you know, the only election I fought was unanimously that literally debating society, because everybody in the college thought that was the dumbest post to fight for. In the debating secretary, you have the post here also? Culture stuff. Is looked down upon or looked upon? I think you look down upon one of those, you know, what do you call it? Are you going to use the talcum powder on your neck next time or something? That kind of stuff. But yeah, so that's the only thing I fought. I won unanimously because nobody wanted to fight that. So, it's tough. I mean, so I would say that for your kind of background, get attached more to some people who've got political linkage. Make your way through some political system and people who are, because you cannot, believe me, how will you choose a constituency? You go to your hometown. It's fundamentally difficult for you, you know, if you're from Gorakhpur, will you go and live in Gorakhpur and earn a livelihood? Not happening. So if you're involved in the political system, attached, this is realistically. And this is like, you know, the books you buy that, what is that called, yeah? MBA in 2.5 weeks and all that. So you guys are asking me all these questions and all that, so I'm going to give you some, attend the MBA and all that, that's right. Attend the MBA, I forgot. So attach yourself with some people you like. Work with them, if you think so. Find weekends to work with them. If you're a lawyer, attach yourself to somebody who's doing public interest litigation and into that space. On Saturday, Sunday, like I tell my kids, do pro bono, you know. She's got a job in a company called Amarchand. I was just sharing with him, he's in the final year. But I said Saturdays and Sundays. I said if you're sincere about, you know, doing something, then you need to give off your Saturdays and Sundays doing some pro bono work. So each one of you need to find out your own answers to it. But attaching yourself to somebody who needs the guy stops it, the natural problem will disappear like that. So we need to stop. But the great part is internet, roads is changing it, you know. Even the tribal children are understanding they need to get involved in development. But a little fairness from government authorities and all of us, and little kindness can solve the problem. I mean, I would forget kindness. Fairness.
I think, say for instance, the collector who tried to effect change in Chhattisgarh, he was kidnapped and stuff like that keeps happening.
No, that will happen. See, again, what happens is, when you look at a historical event and one incident don't get, like that Malkangiri incident in Orissa, and then one in Chhattisgarh, right? Those things will still happen, but the fundamental issue is, I went to a village school called Koda Duba the other day, okay? It's a Naxal area, everybody says don't go, we go on motorcycles. I go to the school, all the kids are there. All the tribal children are there. They're throwing little flowers on you, you know. And everybody is asking me, run, 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 it's a Naxal area. Alright? They got one teacher here. And that also guy's been transferred for 600 kids. Then I go to a village which is in Chakulian, deep Naxal area. So we are talking, we're on motorcycles, we're 10 of us, right? Suddenly a group of women come, so everybody freezes, you know, thinking, because that's how they attack. So they're saying, boss, we should run. I said, boss, even if you run now, you're dead. What's going to happen? Because you just don't have a choice. See, sometimes you need to, so any of these women come, they're not Naxals. You know what they asked me? They said that, MP sir, can you give us the Kendo pressing machine? And one Kendo pressing machine will give job to 50 women. So 3 machines, and each machine cost 6,000 bucks here. 6,000 bucks, boss, to give employment to 50 women. Can you imagine? You'll blow up on a dinner here. How much you get a job? Huh? Seriously. Cuba drinks on the house and all. I got kids your age, that's what I'm saying.
Alright, 2 more questions and from different people, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, at the beginning of this talk, you spoke about some negatives in the political system, and just generally we've been hearing a lot about this whole need to change the political system, bring about an upheaval. So do you agree with that, and if yes, is such a change even possible?
No, I'm totally against what, like Arvind says, you know, I know Mr. Kejriwal well. Look, the democratic process is the best process here. I mean, the process of election, maybe the way we do it is bad, maybe, but is there a better way than democracy? First question. What do you want to replace it with? With dictatorship? So the first question, irrespective, clean the system is a different issue. I'll give a very simple example. I've been saying, like, Nandan, we are going to put on the income tax returns on Friday, right? For the past 7 years. Nobody's put it up, we said we'll put it up. I mean, no big deal. I mean, but we're doing it. Okay, so the Association of Democrats, what is it? Association of Democrats. ADR, right? So ADR wrote to me a letter, ADR, so we said we'll do it, so that's not an issue. So the system is the best you have. I'm saying that the system has got bad guys doesn't mean that the system is bad. Secondly, you keep challenging. So I'll give you another example. In the Lokpal issue, which is very critical. Why don't we forget Lokpal having a police, which is great. Make sure every noting of file is on the internet, yeah. Do e-auction for everything in the government. Chawla committee. So there's so many. How do you reduce corruption? Okay. Where is the corruption? Give you an example. Income tax. Simple example of customs. My wife is in customs excise. You say that you will clear this file within 2 months or it's automatically cleared. You'll reduce corruption by 90%. In the Thana, if you do online register of FIR, you'll reduce corruption by 95%. If you put a video camera in every police station, 24/7, webcam in every room in the police station, you'll reduce corruption by 95%. If you put biometric attendance in hospitals, you'll reduce inefficiencies. So the basic issues, that's what I get zapped out. And Mr. Kejriwal is a smart guy and I like him. But the issue is when we get so clouded, because Singapore was one of the most dishonest countries 50 years back. It's not that their DNA changed overnight with some kind of a nuclear explosion over their heads there. They just created systems and processes which made sure you can't get corrupt. That's all. All of us, disposal of cases. You create huge amount of courts. Try people expeditiously. You will reduce corruption. You know, other day I was speaking on the debt recovery tribunal. It's a crazy story. Mr. Chidambaram has brought an amendment. There has not been a single charge sheet in the debt recovery tribunal till now, yeah. From 2006. What is he talking about amendment? I said, you keep doing amendment after amendment. You have not even charge sheeted. Forget convicted. So the system is actually overloaded with good rules. Just implement it. Make it transparent. Make sure that there is nothing to be hidden. UPSC marks on the line. Question paper online. Every damn noting online. Every noting on the file, put it online. Over a period of time it will stop. And then relations of politicians and bureaucrats, wife's relation. All bureaucrats and politicians or class 1 officers and politicians who are MPs and MLAs, their wife's relation. his relationship or his husband, vice versa. All the relations, income tax return every year, you know, because suddenly when you become an MP or a joint secretary, your wife's sister's husband, your wife's husband, a brother becomes very intelligent and sets up a company which has got 2,000 crore of real estate. All this time he was the biggest moron in the country and didn't pass 12th, and suddenly he becomes competent. So you need to put in systems where you can put returns of everybody on that. Those are debates we should have. Okay.
We have one last.
One last. Yeah.
So what do you think is more important? Sticking with your beliefs or giving in because you think you can do a better job if you give in and stick to the position that you have. For example, for a national issue, you have a certain opinion about, like say, Lokpal, and your political party is having an opposite opinion. So what do you think? You should stick to what you believe in, or you should give in because you think if you stay an MP, if you get a ticket next time, you'll be able to do much better work.
Look, let me put it this way. If you're going to vote against a party whip, then you'll be suspended. So much for your ability to change the country. Second issue is, listen, this system, listen, at the end of the day, we make such a big deal about, about political compromises. In terms of moving we compromise every day. Yeah. I didn't get into IIT Delhi, I got into IIT some other IIT. So my question is, you don't compromise on what's right and wrong in terms of black and white, like make money and commission on the MP fund. But if you join a political party, and the political party's consensus view, like give you an example, we had a huge debate in my party on supporting, we withdrew from Congress, support. I had a different belief that we should, irrespective of the issues, because we said we should be able to, because BJP, we are against BJP in the state. Few of us spoke, and Mr. Marandi heard every one of us. But when we came out, all of us came with the view that we were trying to support. Now we had a belief that we should, but once you're out, so you build a consensus and say, listen, you're part of the football team, part of the cricket team. No? So I think that's how you are. If you're a part of an organization, you need to toe the line. And how do you know your moralistic views are correct view? If BJP voted against Lokpal and you're in Congress, so either you're a BJP guy looking for BJP ticket also. So you can't, so those are debates which are, very difficult to answer. But I don't think you have a right to stand on a party ticket and then not work according to those. That's how the political system works. See, it's very romantic to say that, you can do it. But it's not practical, boss. And, have you seen those topi walas at the back of the speaker? They're the most powerful guys. They can decide whether you speak in the parliament or not. Seriously, you give a slip, you can put it on top, put it below. So I look at him in the morning and they think I'm wishing the speaker, actually I'm wishing him because he can decide. So he told me a very interesting thing. He says, sir, the system, irrespective of however crazy it looks, is actually not a bad system. I'm not defending what's happening today. But this elephant, so bring changes, like in Karnataka, I'll finish off with something very simple. In Karnataka, an IS officer made land records electronic. As this country was, you cannot have Benami land here because it's easy to dig it. Earlier, nobody could get a land record. You had a land 200 acres in Bangalore, nobody will know. Today, everybody will know. So as you dematify records, accounts, ownership, the country cannot afford but to be honest. It's a fait accompli. The technology will drive these guys. I'll give you some of the simple stuff. I look as a student of politics and look at the bills. Direct transfer of cash. You think Congress is doing it for the election? Yes. Is it going to change this country? 100%. It is going to change corruption by 40% at the local level. In the first term they will bribe. By the time the 5 to 10 years, the corruption and kerosene will disappear. 90% of the kerosene is adulterated in India. Have you ever met anybody who's used kerosene in his life? Do this as a test. Go to a village in Basti in Delhi, ask ki mitti ka tel kab kharida. I have never met a human being who's bought mitti ka tel in my constituency. Because it all goes for adulteration. So it's interesting, you're bringing legislations, not realizing the impact was going to have 10 years down the line. But those are changes which India is doing. Today I was planning to give a speech, I'll give it tomorrow. I said this government school teachers are paid so high. Correct, now compared to private school. In my constituency in Dalgungar Naxal area, there is a lady called Mrs. Murmu, who's a B.Ed. She runs a private school in a village. And the kids run it in a shed. It's an English speaking school. There are 200 kids who come on a tie and green shorts in a small tribal village in my constituency, because the kids want English education. And it's not free. It's 200 rupees a month. And the government school is free, but every mother wants to put their kid in a good school. So I've told the minister, why don't you give coupons? The cost of per child, let the parents decide which school they want to go to. The moment you do that, sorry? The moment you do that, you change the system. You put pressure, you get guys going into the private system. So that's how it's going to evolve. I don't know whether the suggestion will work, it may not work in this term, it may work, some crazy idea will pick it up. Second issue is create huge capacity for engineering. Why do you think we are so much against reservation in the class in which we represent? Because we get deprived. That's our frustration, na? Yes or no? Be true to yourself. Imagine there was Harvard and Stanford and everybody else in this country. Your angst, frustration with the reservation process will go away. Because, I didn't get into IT, I got into Stanford. So the more colleges you create of excellence, you will reduce the social tensions. It's natural for a person who doesn't get it to be angry. It's a kid, a guy who's from the section which needs affirmative action. They need it also.
There are many organizations, many NGOs, many youth running organizations who want to enter in politics. I have met many. And there are many political parties like yours and Lok Satta Party and many more who have individual MLAs, MPs. So why don't we connect all of them? And as you have said, we need to pass the bills in the parliament like transparency, or so you need support at the high levels. So why don't they all combine and join each other? Means how is it possible?
Not difficult. No, I have not thought about that, because see, Forward Bloc and TMC and each have got its own, and both, they may not have the same agenda like yours, no? So
means all are going in random direction and have a common goal.
Are you a business management student or?
I'm technical.
Okay. Because normally guys ask confusing questions like that from the normally, strategize, flatter, operationalize. I think like the 20 words you can get through, yeah. Flatter. Just on a lighter side, like earlier when you used to kick people out of job, they used to say downsizing. Now the management guys say right sizing, as if it is some most painless thing in the world. But anyway, it's difficult to get different parties with different backgrounds. Listen, at the end of the day, I'm trying to tell you that, that what's going to move the system is that as we push the envelope slowly and steadily. And it's going to happen. The Aadhaar is going to change it. The next Lokpal bill will push the envelope little further. Then the next Lokpal. And don't get frustrated because, the speed of change in India is actually 20x from what it was 10 years back. And that is because of technology and the world and the globalization. I don't know if you remember, as last I'll finish off with a kid. I'm telling you, when we were kids, Nirula was the rock star. Yeah? Now you don't, Nirulas. The ultimate joint to go and all that. Now you're spoiled by choices. Even in the villages of Jharkhand and Bihar, I used to see Kacha Makan when I was an ASP and SP. I don't see Kacha houses at all. Very few tribal pockets, I see some people like the extremely indigenous backward tribe like the Sabha tribe and all that. But there's hardly any Kacha house at all. And I'm not talking about the way Adivasis build their house, because their houses are beautiful. So I'm not talking because they use cement and mud and all. So India is to some extent, but we can be much better. So difficult, to get different people together. Let's do something in our own state there first.
So on behalf of Swaniti, I'd like to thank you for taking time out, and we do apologize. We recognize that there will be loads of questions that many of you have, but
you can email to me and listen, it's very easy. It's DRAJOY. I write it as a Bengali. drajoykumar@gmail.com. And my mobile, you know, hey, listen, it's very interesting. I didn't show you my car in Jamshedpur. It's got all my mobile numbers on the car. My car in Jamshedpur, my political car, it's got everything on the car. It's also written, agar koi samasya hai to is gaadi ko rokiye. And I'll tell you something, it's very interesting. I was talking to one person saying, how is this MLA doing? He says, yaar, kitna badmash aadmi hai sir, khidki bhi niche nahi karta hai, because AC is on. So now I put my windows down. You know, whenever I go, I do like this, because I realized that, you know, the people find this very irritating. You know, this khidki not being brought down. You don't think it's a big deal, but for the people it's a big deal. And I didn't know till I asked you, how's this MLA doing? You know, my opposition guy. He said, yeah, it's a useless chap. I said, why? So khidki niche nahi karta. I said, power windows, both sides down. Okay, thanks, sir.
So just on behalf of FMS and Swaniti, a small token of our...
Oh wow, cool. It's not small yet. Thank you so much.
Just to give you guys a little bit more information about what you might be materially interested in. So Dr. Kumar, as you've understood, represents one of those rare ilk of policy makers who straddle both sides of the divide, bureaucracy and politics. And I'm sure it will be a brilliant opportunity for any of you to be working with him. And if you are interested in applying for this position about pawns in his constituency, all you need to do is sort of go into swaniti.in, and applications are open, and please feel free to apply. In fact, Tushar and myself are presently working with Mr. Dinesh Trivedi on a project, and it's really been a watershed event for our lives in many ways. We're working on the health of youth workers in his constituency of Paragon. And we've been able to leverage various state and non-state actors to intervene for them. And you'll be surprised really at how much you'll be able to do, because it's not one of those things that you do just as a research project where you write a paper and your MP is happy about it. But you'll actually need to get things done which normally you would expect either government or very large organizations to be doing. And you can often leverage a lot of the goodwill of MPs such as Dr. Kumar, Mr. Trivedi, etc. and you'll be able to get a lot done. So we really encourage you to go ahead and apply for this. While you're at it, Swaniti is part of Spark the Rise campaign, which is about basically a campaign about bringing policymakers and the youth together. And if you like what we are doing, we'd encourage you to SMS your support to us. And once again, thank you so much for making it here. If there are any questions about the fellowship or otherwise that you want to know about, feel free to contact us through swaniti.in. Thank you once again, and I'll call you.